snap.
Mic check, mic check.
We came back.
Mic check, mic check.
Say it with me.
Mic check, mic check.
Now set it free.
All right, what's going on, everybody? So we are back with DannieBSpeaks, the podcast, season 3, episode 4, and we're going to do another pop culture type episode today because I was just going through some things, some notes I had of a few things that I've just been looking at that I came across like on TikTok or other social media platforms. So I do want to pick up real quick with first talk about the story that I mentioned in the last podcast, which was about the Tamar versus Monica and Kandi situation. So the original post that I saw, it was just basically Tamar saying that she felt that she got a side eye from both Tamar. I'm sorry, Tamar felt that she got a side eye from both Monica and Kandi, and she was calling them, saying that she wasn't going to be one of the ATL mean girls and all that stuff. So basically, calling them ATL mean girls or whatever. And another thing that I forgot was that Monica was on that tour with back in 2017 when with Escape and Tamar. I forgot Monica was on that tour too, and so she was there when all the mess went down, of course, and it was in their hometown of Atlanta when the mess with Kaya and T.S. Madison happened, and they got kicked out of the show. Everybody blamed Tamar, which it was her fault. It's like, yeah, you can have creative freedom and do your own thing, but you knew that T.S. Madison and Kaya were involved in this beef with some of the girls from Escape. So it's like, why would you have them? Yeah, I mean, they had the hottest show out at the time, like internet show with the Queen Supreme Court, and, they live in Atlanta. So, it would have been cool to have them come and perform Next Caller, but it was messy. It was messy, and but that's Tamar. So basically, what I saw was there was a video from the Essence Fest about not about, but it was like a group of our girls, our ladies. It was I know Brandy was like on one end, and Missy Elliott was on the other end. And I couldn't really tell who was in the middle except for because it was just like a flash. But there were other, like famous ladies in, they were taking a picture. And in the middle also, but closer to the end that Missy Elliott was on, it was about 7 or 8 of them. And on the end where, closer to the end where Missy Elliott was, Monica and Kandi were there. And Tamar was saying that she walked up to, like, she was getting ready to get in the picture. But first, before taking the picture, she walked up to Tamar. I'm sorry, I'm mixing up all these names. Tamar walked up to Kandi to congratulate her for her honor that she received at the Essence Festival. And basically, she didn't acknowledge her. And Monica was right there next to her, and Monica didn't acknowledge her. So Tamar, of course, the victim, is talking about how she was trying to congratulate and show love because that's the right thing to do. And, so where was the animosity coming from? Now, Tamar, you know where it was coming from. You all have had beef for years. Um, she didn't mention Monica, though. She didn't mention Monica, even though she slightly mentioned her in the original post. that came out, talking about the ATL Mean Girls. Because if you were just talking about Kandi, you would have said an ATL Mean Girl. But anyway, that's maybe a little too technical, but whatever. So, um, obviously Monica and Kandi didn't acknowledge her because they don't like her, and that just wasn't the place, you know what I mean, to and and they're not fake, so it's like they're not going to sit up here and people may beg to differ a little bit because but when it came to that, they were holding their ground. They were like, we don't fuck with you, so I'm not saying anything. I'm not even going to acknowledge, this because I know it's bullshit that, you want to congratulate me or whatever. And I don't know if Tamar even got anything out. She just said that she wanted to congratulate Kandi. So, um, she basically is saying that she wanted to choose love and, that it's the right thing to do. Basically, it's the respectful thing to do if you were raised right, pretty much. So Tamar's throwing all this shade, but still sounding all sad and the victim, about the situation. Um, and the thing is, with Tamar, she's one of those people that can say what they want to about you. Um, can throw all sorts of shade, can just, say whatever about you. But the moment that you say something, then, it's, oh, they're treating me so wrong, they're bullying me. And, also people like that. And this is a perfect example of she saying that, she wanted to congratulate her, but they're not feeling you. At least we'll just talk about Kandi right now. Candy's not feeling you. And it doesn't matter what the situation is. If she doesn't like you, she doesn't like you, and she doesn't have to acknowledge you at all, regardless. Especially if y'all have ongoing beef. Now, Tamar also is one of those people who, when she feels like the beef should be over, that everybody should be over it and everybody should, be okay and get back on track and be happy go lucky and all that bullshit. So it's it's weird. It's weird to me, people who are like that, that it's like, okay, I say the beef is over, now let's be cool again. It does life doesn't work that way. I mean it just doesn't. So yeah, so that's basically what happened there. People were also saying, that yeah, they made up or quote unquote made up when they were on Celebrity Big Brother. Now I didn't watch it when they were on there. And this was, I think it was during COVID when they were on there. Don't quote me on that, but I think it was during COVID, and they both, supposedly made up and, were okay with going forward and, whatever. So, first of all, it was on Celebrity Big Brother, and they could have been, that's a game, it's a game. So maybe Candy did, at one point feel like, okay, we can move forward, and possibly they did. But wasn't it just like a year or so ago that Tamar was shading Candy again? I mean, so it's just like that's what I'm saying. It's like she can say and do whatever she wants to, but then when she feels like the beef is over, then everyone should be on the same page, and so I don't know. I don't know, but yeah, I can't stand people like that. I can't stand, people who are just that self-centered. And Tamar is older than me. I think she's 49 maybe. 48 or 49. She's pushing 50. She's closer to 50 than I am. Lord willing. But she's never going to grow up. Um, and there are plenty of people who are the baby of the family, and especially large families. Um, and at one point they may have acted like that, may still have a little bit in them, but most people know when it's time to grow up. And I think something is terribly wrong with Tamar. I do. I think something is wrong with her. I think that, she just has a very weird sense of entitlement. And yeah, I don't know, but so I did find out more information about that as to what happened. Um, I don't know. Kandi ain't messing with you. Monica was probably just there, and people put her in the story because she didn't acknowledge Tamar either. Never heard of Tamar and Monica hanging out. Um, and like I said, I completely forgot that she was on that tour with them, with Escape and Tamar. And that tour was back in 2017. So that was almost 10 years ago. And I mean, and still, regardless if you may have thought that y'all made up or not, and if y'all did, you still have been throwing shots here and there at Kandi. So, and I can take Kandi or leave her. I mean, I respect her for what she's done in the R&B game. Well, the music game, period, because she's put out some hot pop hits as well. But and she's a great businesswoman. Um, she's a member of Escape, one of my favorite groups. Um, growing up, listening to them from a teenager, on. So yeah, I mean, whatever. You can like the music, but I don't get into all that, like, oh, I like this person, I don't like this person, whatever. Unless they do something really fucked up, then you got to kind of be like, I don't know if I can deal with this person, like really, pay attention to, them like that and be all for them. But um, so let's go on to the next story. So now this made me cackle, and I hadn't really paid much attention to it, but why are they calling Taylor Swift and damn, why is he shit uh damn, what, oh my gosh, I know his name. I know his name. Her husband now, the football player. It's late. I'm recording this. It's late. Um, but why are people calling say their wedding was tacky? Now I don't know if people were just throwing that out there. Um, I don't know, but for people who don't know, Taylor Swift got married at Madison Square Garden, and it was a huge wedding. I mean, first of all, to have it at Madison Square Garden. Now I don't know if they had it like on the arena or in the auditorium, whatever, because there are different parts. If you've ever been to Madison Square Garden, you know that it's more there. It's huge. Like, I mean, like pretty much all arenas are huge, but um, like Nationwide Arena we have here is huge, but it's one of the smaller ones that's, arena wise from a large city. It's probably about average, I should say. But Madison Square Garden is huge and there's different parts of it, whatever. Um, so yeah, I'm like, leave Taylor alone, and it's like, I'm not a fan of Taylor's music, but she has grown on me, over the years. I really didn't pay much attention to her when she first came out. I was just like, because it wasn't really my cup of tea, my music, whatever. But, she started making all this noise and everything. And I was like, who is this girl? So I would listen to her music here and there. And, I started, being like, okay, this ain't too bad, you know. Um, like, but truthfully, I couldn't, um, I couldn't pinpoint, like, if there was a song that I didn't know, like I never heard of hers or whatever, but it was her, I wouldn't know it was her. I'm just saying. Um, and that's no shade. That's no shade. It's just not my thing. But she has grown on me. Um, and I kind of like her. I kind of like her. I think that she's very direct. Um, she seems like she does a lot for her fans. And, I can respect that. I can respect an artist that gives back because, um, and, this is what we do as consumers and fans. You're putting, your money into supporting these artists. I mean, there are tons of, concerts that I've been to, albums that I've bought, songs I've downloaded, whatever, that, go to support these artists. So, but that's how they make a living. They're entertainers. Um, but, when they take the time to give back and show appreciation, because them putting out their music, putting out a movie, TV show, whatever, their form of art, going on tour, whatever, putting on a show, that's their way of giving back, even though it's their job, but this is how they connect with their fans. So, a lot of people don't really understand that. But being someone who has worked, quote unquote, kind of in a small section of the entertainment business, that I understand that. I understand that. And that's why I don't put a lot of stock into really, getting into what these celebrities do. Even some of my favorites, it's just like, whatever, like, I mean, just, entertain me. That's really it, and I hate to say it like that, but that's what your job is. Um, but anyway, that's a whole nother thing. I can go on a tangent. But Travis Kelsey, it just came to me. Lord Jesus, I can't believe I forgot his name. Lord have mercy. Fellow Ohio, uh, him and his brother. But anyway, yeah. So it yeah. So they're saying that their wedding was tacky. I don't know what was tacky about it because there was nothing, specified or whatever. It had a huge crowd, and from what I understand, and I know there were a lot of people, but no one that was actually like in attendance for the wedding, to support the couple, said it was tacky. It was just a lot of people, like bloggers or whatever, which you can take a lot of that with a grain of salt. It's just like me coming out here saying that's what I heard. I'm just repeating, but I'm just like, even if it was tacky, even if some people didn't like the colors that they chose, or, it being at Madison Square Garden, um, the music, whatever, made it tacky to these people. It was their day. It was their day. It was their wedding. Let them have their thing. Um, so, and, back to Taylor and the Knicks. So Taylor was seen courtside at, I don't know, she was at a couple, I don't know. I really didn't pay too much attention to the, because I was mainly listening to a lot of the games before. I wasn't really watching until the Eastern Conference Finals. Then, but I would just mainly listen to it while I was doing other things, listen to the games. So I don't know if she was there, if she was courtside at any other games, but I know that she was there courtside um, when they won the comeback from behind game at Madison Square Garden, the second game at Madison Square Garden, the game before they won the championship. Yeah, and the biggest comeback in NBA history. Yeah, finals history, whatever. Yeah. But anyway, so she was at the game, and she was doing a lot. She was being very extra. And I do know that in the past she has been at Knicks games. I know she lives in New York. That's like her main residence. She's from the East Coast. I think she's from Pennsylvania. um so who's to say that she hasn't been a Knicks fan for years? You know what I mean? I don't know. Taylor always said that she likes sports, so maybe she's always been a Knicks fan, or just her living in New York, whatever. And it could have been a little bit of publicity because she knew she was getting ready to get married there in a couple weeks. So I don't know, but I was just like, Taylor, I like you, girl, but don't piss me off. Don't piss me off doing too much. Trying to put the focus on you or whatever. But I think it was an exciting game, so I couldn't get too mad at her. Now, was a little, you know, not happy about you grabbing on Mariska, doing too much with, our girl Mariska Hargitay. I wasn't too happy about that. Um, I didn't want you to knock, Mariska over or anything, because you were doing a lot. But, that's neither here nor there. But it just kills me when people go in other people's houses or their weddings or party or whatever, and they just talk about, oh, it was so tacky. It was just it's not yours. It's not yours. You know what I mean? And who says that you have the best taste? People may look at my background and be like, oh, that is just too much. But like I said before, this isn't a big space. It's really not. And two, it has everything in this room that I need. I have music, I have my books, um, you know, in front of me. I'm at my desk, of course, TV, everything that I need is here, just in this little section right here. So, um, but yeah, I mean, it's just like I would like when I used to watch House Hunters, I used to watch House Hunters religiously. I don't really watch it anymore because I don't really watch TV anymore. But I remember, like, it would always piss me off when these people who were looking at houses, they would always talk about how, oh, this is ugly. This is, change it. And I know, like, a lot of people want to move into a house where you don't have to do that many changes. Some people want to go in and gut everything. That's their purpose. But I'm just like, they would talk about the current homeowners' decorations, the paint job that, the painting colors that they chose, and it's just like, just let people live. I just don't understand why people are so critical of everybody and everything. And usually the people that are most like that are the people who don't like you saying things about them. I'm just saying. But anyway, let's move on to the next topic. So Columbus, Ohio. Now, a lot of people, of course, who don't know me personally, but have followed me throughout the years, whatever, who follow me on social media. I've talked about where I live before, where I'm from. I'm from Columbus, Ohio, still currently live in Columbus, Ohio. I love my city. I do. I couldn't see myself living anywhere else. There were times I did want to move to New York, especially when I really wanted to get into writing and the comedy writing and all that stuff. I'm going to have a story time where I'm going to talk about the time that I kind of sort of moved to LA. I really didn't move, but I was kind of, what do you call it, bi-coastal or whatever. Um, but it was, I had to do it like in a sneaky way. And not sneaky for like my family or anything, but I was working. Um, it was a lot. So I am going to talk about that. But there were times where I did want to live other places. The People wonder why I have such a huge connection to Detroit, and why I love Detroit is not only because Motown. I do have family that lives there. I just love the vibe of the city every time I've been there. Um, but it was because of the comedy troupe that I worked with was based out of Detroit. And they actually had like a TV show and everything, an improv show and all this stuff. And I worked with this group as a comedy writer. And I'm gonna get into all that. And they had different subsets of the group or whatever. But I'm going to get into all that on a future episode. I'll do that soon. I'm not going to tease it too long. I'm going to do that soon. But anyway, so people who just don't like the city, who may have moved here from somewhere else, or who have lived here their entire life and they're just over it, they're just tired. They've been talking you know for years, probably about 20 plus years. This is going to be my last year in this city, I'm moving, blah blah blah, whatever. And that's fine, but I always tell people that if you're going to move now, for some people, yes, moving, getting away, going to a new city, new state, surroundings, whatever, may help. But for majority of people, if you don't take care of your problems or what you feel is causing your problems or whatever, even if it is someone or something here in the city that you reside in, um, if you don't take care of those, they're just going to follow you. And that's just, a little free advice right there. Not like a lot of people don't know that, but I always would tell people that, I'm just like, you know, if you want to move because of this, okay, but you have to take care of it, because if not, those problems, those issues are going to follow you to the next place and you're going to still be miserable. So it's not like that for everybody, but Anyway, but people who try to shade the city because there has been a huge influx of influencers in Columbus, Ohio, which every major city has influencers, not even major cities. Being an influencer is not that hard. Um, there are some that are very popular. There are some that have brand deals or whatever, but just to be an influencer, anybody can pick up a camera and go out and go to restaurants, do product reviews. If you have 500 followers or 5,000, 500,000, it doesn't matter. Anybody can be an influencer. But people try to shade Columbus because, they're like, what is here to influence? There's a lot. And Keisha and I have actually talked about it on the Girl You Know What podcast. There is so much to do in this city, and everything may not, um, what you call it, everything may not, be your cup of tea, which you may like to do, whatever. You may like going to the same place all the time, whatever. I know I'm a creature of habit. I used to not really be, but now I am. I'm a huge creature of habit now. I don't really like doing too many new things. Um, I kind of stick to what I know now. But if something comes up where I'm like, oh, that might be pretty cool, then I'll check it out. And if I like it, I like it. If I don't, it'll become part of my routine. Anyway, so, but there's always something to do. And not only during the summer, there's like things to do throughout the week, there's things to do every weekend. Um, and it's not just festivals, it's not just, which we have a lot of those. It's not just that stuff. There is so much to do in this city. Columbus is one of the top fashion uh, cities in the world. A lot of people don't know that. They're one of the top fashion cities for fashion, for interior design, interior decorating, a lot of different, things within the art. Columbus has a huge art scene, and has for years. There are tons of little galleries and everything, not just the Columbus Museum of Art. I mean, there are tons of galleries, just different places. Like you can go down to, and not only just downtown, but I'm just using downtown as an example. You can go downtown and just randomly walk past a building, and on the bottom floor, or maybe not even on the bottom floor, but there's an art gallery in there, and there are usually local artists that are displaying their artwork or having art shows. I've been to plenty of them, and I know they still have them. But that's something that I'm interested in. I didn't get a chance. I wasn't feeling the greatest today, but the huge book fair book show downtown, at the main library, is this weekend, and I'll try and go tomorrow, depending on how I feel. I have a couple things I have to do tomorrow, so I may not make it this year, but every year I usually go. It's at the Topiary Park. They have different things. They have it, of course, at the main library. The Topiary Park is behind the main library, of course. Um, and they have different spots that they have. They have authors come. They have, just a lot of different things. They have illustrators come. People who are involved in that. Um, Now for the food, there was a huge thing where, and I haven't seen it that much now. Local people who live here, are going around trying different places, but it mainly seemed like it started because there were people who are food, quote unquote, food critics. And I don't want to take that away from them, so I shouldn't say quote unquote because they're doing their thing. They go to different places, whatever. But it seemed like all of them at one point were coming to Columbus to try to badly critique the food. Everywhere they tried was bad. And I'm someone that I've been to tons of different cities. I've had different, foods, whatever, from like the same type of food from different cities, and it's not very different from in Columbus. It's, I mean, I don't see like what the difference is really. There may be some places you don't like. There may be some places that you don't like that did their food a certain way. But it was like there were these influencers, these food critics, whatever, that were coming to Columbus and, just saying all this bad stuff about food. So a lot of Columbus influencers were like, okay, we're going to go to these different places they didn't go to, and we're going to give our review on it, not just because we live here, but because we're going to give an honest review. We're not going to do it just for clicks and views and shock value and all of that stuff. And of course, some of them were like from Houston, places down south, and they were trying like soul food places. Um, and possibly, like, I mean, soul food in Houston is not going to taste the same as it does up here in Columbus. I mean, it's made with the same love, it's made with a lot of the same ingredients, but you may have a bias because you're from down south and you think that's the only place that soul food should be. I mean, whatever, but I've had soul food down south. I've had soul food here in Columbus at different restaurants, and each place is different. Everyone puts their different spin on it. There have been places where I've had disgusting mac and cheese. And then there's some places where I've had some great mac and cheese. Not as good as my mama's, but it's been pretty good. Um, I've been to Sweetie Pies and everybody rants and raves about the mac and cheese. Um, and, it's okay. It's not bad, and I'm just using that as an example. There are a lot of different things, you know, um, that are different. So, you know, it is what it is. So not just influencers, but bloggers and vloggers. Um, as someone who has blogged for years, I don't currently, but I miss it. I miss it because there was a lot of camaraderie. I used to go. I didn't go every. I think it was it every month. There was every month that there was like a meeting of local bloggers, and just talk about things, share ideas, or it would just be like just to get up and network, or get out and network, I should say. Other people would come and talk, and say what they're doing or whatever. It was a good time, and I do miss that, and I miss writing all the time. And putting my work out there. Um, and not only that, but there are a lot of bloggers here in Columbus and vloggers as well. People who do daily vlogs, people who I used to I don't know if she still posts videos or not. Um, I need to go through my subscriptions on YouTube, but there was this young black girl who she would go to different thrift stores and she would just go thrifting. She would be all over the city and just find amazing things. I mean, to the point where, and this was like, I found her when I started losing a lot of weight. And, I didn't want to spend a lot of money on clothes because I knew I was going to keep gaining weight. I mean, keep losing weight and fast, but I didn't want to spend a lot of money at the time. Still don't really want to, but especially then when, the weight is constantly coming off of you and you just can't keep up. But I still needed clothes. I still needed clothes. I didn't want everything to fit, baggy stuff to be falling off, so I would go thrifting, or she would just go to different places like where you could get good sales, good deals, whatever. And she had a lot of followers, a lot of subscribers. um, and I don't know if I unfollowed her. I don't know why I would have, or she just doesn't post videos anymore. Or maybe she doesn't post as much and she's just not in my algorithm. But if I do come across her videos, her page, if she still has it, I will share it, because I'm on YouTube like pretty much all day, watching different things and tutorials, about how to grow my stuff, how to make my uh, brand bigger on here. Um, but also, like, I watch a lot of people, and there are quite a few Columbus bloggers and vloggers who I do watch. Quite a few influencers, and most people aren't putting their things on YouTube. They're going straight to TikTok or just social media, period, but mainly TikTok. There are so many people that I follow on TikTok or just come across their videos because it's been in my algorithm, and they're going around. Just like there was this one guy I follow, and he went to this it was like a thrift store consignment shop on Parsons Avenue that I never even heard of. Granted, I don't go down there as much as I used to. Usually, when I go down Parsons, especially that fast, I'm going to Shrimp Lips to get, some pasta or, some macaroni, whatever. But so it's it's different, you know, when you live here and you just don't know or you just don't care. There are a lot of people who just do the same thing all the time and they don't know about a lot of these things. Like I remember I was having a conversation with somebody, and this was a few years back, and they were saying that they wanted to go somewhere, but Columbus doesn't have it. I was like, "What are you talking about?" I was like, "There are plenty of places like this that you can go." Um, you know, um, I can't remember what it was, but it was just somewhere. I'll just use like for an example, it was like the art gallery. Um, they said they wanted to see that or whatever, or they wanted to go to a particular type of bookstore. And I said, well, yeah, we got that too. Go down a long street, go, there's, there was one on West Fifth Avenue that was, predominantly a black bookstore, but I think she closed down, which I used to go there all the time because, she had quite a few books back there that I probably got from her. But yeah, so there's a lot to do here, and there are a lot of bloggers and vloggers who are just talking about their daily lives or who have something else to talk about. There's actually another guy who I watch on YouTube, um, and I think his channel is called "We're Going to Be All Right," and he lives in Columbus. Went to Ohio State. I don't know if he's from Columbus, but he lives here now, and he used to be a writer and a commentator on the Young Turks. And now he does his own thing and is very successful. And he always talks about, things going on in the city, whatever. He mainly talks about political stuff. But yeah, so there are a lot of people who just don't know. And that's fine. There are people who probably, who I talk to, or who follow me, and I want to, give y'all that. Um, and the funny thing about it too, like back to the food influencers that were coming from other cities. Now I know there are a lot of pygmies, but a lot of y'all were talking shit, along with these people just so you can be seen or whatever. It's just like they're going to go to another city and do the same thing. You know what I mean? So it's whatever. But let's move on to the next topic that I want to discuss. I was going to do more weight loss talk, but I think I'm going to do that in another blog because this one is running a little longer than I wanted to because I can ramble. Um, but last thing I want to talk about is some more, like I did talk in episode 1 I talked about, what I want my channel to be going forward, what I want the podcast to be going forward. Now there is still I'm having trouble posting, getting the this podcast onto Audible and Amazon, which you only got to upload it to one and it goes to both. I don't know what's going on there. It will not read my feed, um, but I was able to do it on Apple. So those are the only three, plus Spotify is, so I have podcasts um, on Spotify, on Apple Music, and I'm supposed to have them on Amazon and Audible, so they'll be on both. But I'm having trouble with Amazon and Audible, so I don't know when that'll be fixed. But girl, you know what? Podcasts are still on there, and then when I start the true crime back up again, they'll be on the same platforms. Now, the reason why I decided to do the visual podcast is because it was something that Keisha and I talked about for Girl You Know What. finally getting on camera, even though we're in two different cities, still, get on camera. I wanted to find a good streaming program to use. And I settled with StreamYard because it didn't really take a lot of different plugins and, like OBS or even though OBS is free, but you had to have all these plugins to do just what I'm able to do just on here, with just one thing. Um, so that was a reason why I really wanted to. And I was just like, I want to go ahead and start doing a video format as well because we started doing like a video, not with our faces, but we would put the podcast up on my YouTube page as well. Um, and I would try to insert like pictures and stuff like that in there. And I like doing that stuff. Like I like editing and all of that. But I was just like, this doesn't make any sense. Let's just, I mean, it was, I didn't like how it came out. I'm just going to say, I personally didn't like that, doing it that way. I would rather, if I'm going to do visuals, be on camera. Um, so with Girl You Know What podcast, I'm going to be on camera. Keisha, she's going to be on camera eventually when she's ready. And the same thing when I do live shows or even pre-recorded shows with other people, you don't have to be on camera. I'm not going to have anybody, if you don't want to have your face out there. You can just be behind your avatar, and that's fine with me. I would like you to be on camera, but it's not necessary because for years I've done it behind the camera, so I get it. But I know some of y'all are going to want to be on camera, and that's perfectly fine. I would love to have you. Um, so I want to get to a point where the consistency is flowing with everything. Um, and I'm still working on some scripts for the girl for now. I will say this. Since I do read from a script for not another true crime podcast, I still call it that. True Crime with Danny B Speaks. Since I do read from a script, it'll probably be flashes of me, or it just may be behind the. I may just not be on camera for those because I don't want to sit here and just be reading a script. Um, at least not the whole show. I may do some editing and pop up on camera. I'll still be reading, but it won't be like this, like where I'll be on the entire show. So I still had to figure that out, how I'm going to do that. But yeah, so that's what's going on with those. I really want to work up this YouTube channel. Um, I never really saw myself, as a YouTuber. I just really wanted to be, just a podcaster. But over the years, we have seen that, you know, so many people, podcasting has changed. It's still the same, but it has changed. There are a lot of people who still do their podcast strictly, you know, off camera and you just hear the audio. But there are a lot of podcasts where people are on camera. It takes a lot of courage and a lot of conviction to be on camera. And especially when you're putting it out there because it may just be one video that I do on a topic that people are going to be like, wait a minute, and it just blows up and thousands of people see it. Um, you have to be ready for that. And I mean, I've been doing this long enough to where whatever, I don't care about what people say. Um, it's like if I don't give a shit about what people who I personally know in my life, family, friends, acquaintances, coworkers, whatever, if I don't pay attention to what you say, I don't give a shit about what any strangers have to say. So you have to build that up. And it never really bothered me. Like I've always been able to take constructive criticism, and that's because of where I come from in this business. Um, you know, working with other people, working with professionals. So I've always been able to take the constructive criticism, and so that's fine. Now I know there'll be trolls. I know all that stuff. I don't care about that. That's what I'm talking about. Like I don't care. Is what it is. But I'm going to end it right there. Episode, what is this? Episode 4. But I just wanted to come with a few of those stories to piggyback off the last episode with the first story about Tamar, Monica, and Kandi. Even though now Tamar isn't referencing, I should say, Monica, but whatever. So until next time, thank you all for listening, for watching. These will both be on strictly audio format on the podcast streaming sites, and the visual on on YouTube. Now, I'm not sure if I'm eligible to put my podcast, the visual, on Apple. I know they have where there's visual podcasts on Apple, um, and I think Spotify. I think I'm gonna look into those, but for right now, it'll just be on my YouTube page. Somebody asked me about like would I be getting into Discord and Kick and all that stuff. That's a little too much, and especially just starting to do that right now. So yeah. So that's it. That's all I have to say in this episode. Maybe the next one, I don't know. The next episode, I don't know if we're going to do some weight loss talk, um, or get into something else. I don't know. Now, every show that I do that I put on my channel is not going to be the podcast. They're going to be other things that I do, um, other videos that I do, and it's not going to all be related to the podcast. Podcast is specifically something else than some of the other videos that I have planned that I want to do. So there's that. Um, yeah. So you all have a good one. I'm about to get off of here, wind down, um, and get my old ass in the bed because I'm tired and it's late. But I wanted to get this out so I can have it done. I'm trying to work ahead, trying to make sure that I have staying consistent because once I stop, who knows what's going to happen. I'm trying not to get there, um, but we shall see. And there's not going to be like for these. There's not going to be a specific day like on Girl, you know what? We we there's album release Tuesday. That's what we call it. All of our shows are released unless something happens. There have been a couple times where we had to release like later in the week, or if we done a special episode, it got released, you know, before or after Tuesday. But every Tuesday when we record, every Tuesday at noon, the show gets released. This could be at any time. I do set the release for around noon, the day that I am going to do it, but there's no specific day. Um, so that's it. That's it. I'm going to stop right there because I'll keep going and we'll be here another hour. But yeah, so thank you all for listening, for watching, and I will catch you all on the next one. Bye, y'all.